Introduction. The only thing that matters at your deathbed. The doctor spoke in the low voice men use when they believe hope would be cruelty. He said the child might never hear, might never speak, might go through life locked in silence. And there on that bed lay a tiny life with no visible sign of ears, born as it seemed into a world that could not reach him. I did not argue aloud. I did not bargain with fate in the presence of nurses and instruments. I reached a decision in the secrecy of my own heart, and I held it like a blade. I decided the child would hear and he would speak, and I refused to accept anything else as reality. No man understands the value of time until he is forced to measure life in a new way. I wrapped one idea in every tale. Your affliction is not a curse. It is an asset in disguise. I repeated it until the child began to carry himself like one who was meant for triumph, not pity. When he was old enough to want what other boys wanted, he did not collapse into self-pity. He made plans. He reached for independence. He wanted the dignity of earning. And one afternoon, while left at home, he climbed out through a window and set off on his own to sell newspapers. He borrowed 6 cents, bought papers, sold out, reinvested, and repeated until evening. When we returned home, we found him asleep with the money clenched in his hand. Profit earned by initiative. His mother cried from fear. I laughed, because I saw a victory far greater than coins, faith in himself. Years passed. He went through grades, high school, and college without hearing as other men hear, refusing the easy path of separation. We would not permit him to learn the sign language, because we were determined he would live a normal life and associate with normal children, no matter the debates we endured. And then, during his last week in college, something occurred that marked the most important turning point of his life. Through what appeared to be mere chance, he received another hearing device on trial. He was slow to test it, disappointed before, until he placed it on his head and discovered a changed world. Now, I have told you this story without naming the boy because the name is not the power, the principle is. But I will give it to you now so it becomes real in your mind. That child was my son, Blair, and his story is proof that life yields to a burning desire that will not recede. Why do I begin a speech about your deathbed with the story of a child's silence? Because it teaches the only truth that survives the last hour. When you come to the end, you will not measure life by what impressed strangers. You will measure it by what you mastered within. Most men chase what makes noise. They chase applause. They chase titles. They chase the kind of money that buys comfort but not meaning. They chase the approval of people who do not even respect themselves. And then they arrive at the end with full hands and an empty heart. If you're honest, you already feel the warning. You feel it when you sit alone after a long day and wonder why the victories do not satisfy. You feel it when you look at your family and sense the distance that grows when a man is always busy but never present. The final hour does not ask how much you gathered. It asks what you became. It asks whether you lived by a definite purpose or drifted from week to week. It asks whether you turned adversity into advantage or used adversity as your excuse, and no man escapes that accounting. Here is the cruel risk. You can work hard, sacrifice much, and still arrive at that bed with the sickening knowledge that you chased the wrong things. Time does not refund itself. A year wasted at 40 becomes a decade stolen at 50. Ignore this and you repeat the year. I am not here to scold you. I am here to wake you. Because the greatest tragedy is not failure, it is success in the wrong direction. It is building a life that looks respectable to the crowd while the soul inside you knows it has been starving for something truer. In this speech, I will show you 6 pursuits that seem important while you are healthy, busy, and distracted, but become bitter ashes when the room grows quiet. I will not name them all yet, because if I give you the list too soon, you will defend yourself instead of examining yourself. But I will tell you what stands above the 6, what outlives them, what remains when the breath is shallow and the mask falls away. It is not your possessions, it is not your reputation, it is not your cleverness. It is the one thing every man can secure, and few do. That one thing is the inner state called peace of mind, the harmony that comes from a life lived with definite purpose, guided by faith, expressed through useful service, and guarded by self-control. It is the feeling in the final hour that you did not betray your own standard. Listen closely now. Do not treat this as mere inspiration. Return to it as a man returns to his compass. Obey one command today. Repetition seals it. And if you will take these 6 pursuits out of your hands, you will discover what cannot be taken from you, the quiet power of a man who is ready, whenever his hour comes. Thing 1, the pursuit of applause. The craving for approval is the first counterfeit of true purpose. The average man spends his life chasing noise, mistaking it for worth. He runs from silence because silence makes him meet himself. Yet it is in that stillness that the soul measures truth. Noise fades, silence remains. Applause echoes for moments, integrity endures for decades. I once knew a salesman who built his success on charm. He could win anyone's attention. His company praised him. His name appeared in reports. And yet, when I met him years later, his face carried exhaustion. He confessed that though the world admired him, his children barely knew him. His wife, he said, no longer listened, for he was never home to speak. He had mistaken recognition for respect, and the exchange had bankrupted his peace. Recognition is given to performers. Respect belongs to men of character. The crowd rewards entertainment. Life rewards endurance. Many men receive applause they never deserved, and many receive silence they have earned through greatness. I tell you now, seek the second, not the first. The reward of conscience outweighs the roar of the multitude. I call this the law of inner accounting. What you trade for approval is never returned with interest. Every time you adjust your values to please an audience, you withdraw from your spiritual bank. Eventually, the account is empty, and a man stands rich in attention, but poor in self-trust. He looks successful, but feels hollow. I once met an artist whose paintings had made him famous. His work hung in galleries, his name was on tongues, but I found him despondent. He said, "I sold my best years to applause. I painted what men would buy, not what I believed." In his later years, he painted only for himself. Those last canvases, unseen by critics, brought him peace. The applause had been counterfeit. Solitude was gold. Fame and admiration are the cheapest currencies in the market of life. They are issued freely to those who perform well, but hold no value beyond the moment. When applause guides you, enemies become your masters, for your behavior now depends on their reaction. But when purpose guides you, even enemies become teachers, revealing your strength through their resistance. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Half a nation despised him. He was called a fool who did not understand your purpose. I do not chase applause. I build substance. I measure my worth by integrity, not noise. My reward is the quiet respect of my own conscience. Repeat them until silence feels richer than flattery. Others will begin to see something different in you. They will sense an immovable quality, a calm strength that neither criticism nor praise can bend. Some will misunderstand you. A few will admire you. All will respect you, for men eventually follow those who no longer chase them. And when the years have passed, and you sit alone with the memory of your days, you will not hear applause. You will hear peace. That is the only sound worth living for. Thing 2, the pursuit of comfort. Comfort is the most dangerous drug offered to man. It arrives quietly, dressed in rest, but beneath its robe lies decay. The mind expands only through effort. Ease is the slow poison of ambition. Every great man built his triumphs out of discomfort. Carnegie's hunger, Ford's failures, Edison's sleepless experiments. Pain refined their purpose, as gold is refined by flame. I knew a man who gained wealth early. By 40, he had more than he needed. He bought leisure, and leisure bought his decline. Within a decade, his eyes dulled, his mind slowed, his vigor vanished. He mistook comfort for success. The world envied him, but he had lost the sharp edge of struggle that keeps the soul alive. Ease had turned victory into vacancy. I call this the law of motion. Growth requires friction. Life rewards those who push beyond ease. Comfort promises rest, but breeds decay. Persistence promises strain, but yields mastery. A body unused grows weak. A mind unchallenged grows small. The secret of vitality is pressure rightly directed. Without resistance, there is no muscle, physical or spiritual. The soft life produces hard years. The hard life produces golden years. When you choose comfort over challenge, you trade tomorrow's strength for today's softness. Each moment of earned difficulty becomes a deposit into your future power. Every indulgence is a withdrawal from it. The account of strength belongs only to those who work against resistance. Most men after 40 worship comfort, calling it stability. They tell themselves they have earned ease, but what they have really earned is purpose. To abandon struggle is to abandon growth. Nature punishes the stagnant with boredom. A man is never meant to retire from purpose, only from confusion. When the goal is clear, labor becomes life's renewal, not its burden. Fatigue is not your enemy. Directionless fatigue is. The man who rests without aim decays. The man who rests to rebuild rises. Rest must be regeneration, not retreat. When you work toward a worthy goal, even exhaustion feeds joy. It is the body's testimony to devotion. Rest then becomes sacred, not slothful. Repeat this truth until it is written in your habits. I will not worship comfort. I will welcome challenge as the price of expansion. My strength increases with resistance. These words are the antidote to decline. They turn weariness into willpower and discomfort into discipline. Remember Edison. At 70, he still worked through nights, eyes strained, mind aflame. He said he could not rest because ideas would not let him. His body aged, his enthusiasm did not. The mind renews itself through work, not through idleness. Idleness is rust. Work is polish. Others will see you differently once you cease bowing to comfort. They will call you tireless. They will feel younger in your presence. They will respect your energy and follow your pace. You will become the example of vitality, proof that age is no barrier when purpose burns clear. Discipline will transform into delight. Work will become expression, not punishment. You will stop asking for easier days and start asking for greater power. Comfort will lose its spell, and challenge will become your chosen companion. And when the end comes, you will rest truly for the first time, because you will have earned your rest, not escaped into it. Thing 3, the pursuit of possessions. Possessions multiply, but satisfaction does not. The more a man owns, the more he must guard. Soon he serves what he bought. I have seen men so chained to their luxuries that they forgot the use of their own hands. Wealth, when ruled by wisdom, is a tool. When worshipped, it becomes a tyrant. I once knew a merchant who built vast warehouses. His success astonished his city. Yet as his possessions grew, his sleep vanished. He paced through the night, fearing loss. When markets trembled, his health trembled too. The gold he loved most became the weight that crushed his peace. Contrast this with a humble clerk I once met who owned little but lived joyfully. His security was not in banknotes, but in faith and clear conscience. He had learned the secret of mastery over material. Riches become burdens when not guided by purpose. The man who gathers without plan drowns beneath his gain. The man who gains faster than he matures builds a cage of gold. It shines beautifully, but he cannot leave it. He calls himself free while counting his chains. True wealth is control over time and peace of mind. I have met poor men who think like creators. They imagine, they build, they serve. And they are richer than millionaires who think like prisoners. I have also met wealthy men whose calmness radiated contentment, because they ruled their possessions instead of being ruled. The difference was never in the ledger, but in the mind. John D. Rockefeller once said that he valued order more than money, for order produced money endlessly, while greed destroyed it quickly. He understood that wealth must obey higher principles. When panic swept the market, he walked calmly through it. His peace of mind was worth more than all his stocks combined. He was wealthy because he could not be disturbed. The greatest fortunes were made by men who served first. The ones who chased money as an end never built empires, they built tombs. Carnegie, Ford, Rockefeller, all produced abundance through vision and service. Money followed their faith, not their fear. When a man fixes his mind on service, wealth becomes inevitable. When he fixes it on wealth alone, misery becomes certain. I tell you, money properly used is noble. Money worshipped is vulgar. It multiplies the nature, the pursuit of comparison. Comparison is the silent thief of destiny. The man who measures himself by another man's path abandons his own. The crowd encourages it. They compare wages, titles, and recognition. But all progress dies when you forget your original pattern. Nature never made two identical souls. Every life carries its own design. I call this the law of the individual blueprint. Each soul was stamped with a specific rhythm and purpose. To copy another is to betray that stamp. The man who tries to imitate success instead of interpreting it becomes an echo, not a voice. Social envy poisons faith. It breeds imitation. It whispers, "You should be further along," and blinds the eye to personal progress. The world praises competition, but true mastery lives beyond it. Edison did not race others. He pursued imagination itself. Lincoln competed only with his own patience. Ford compared himself to yesterday's Ford, not to his rivals. That is why they grew beyond comparison. They became originals. Jealousy disguises itself as motivation. A man says, "I only want to be as great as another," yet secretly he hopes to see the other fail. Such poison cannot create. It can only consume. It corrodes gratitude and blinds vision. No man can build while he resents. To cure this, practice mental isolation. Protect your focus as you would your fortune. Be loyal to your own plan even when others shout louder. You were not made to follow their rhythm. The seed of your greatness requires solitude to sprout. The moment you compare your soil to another's, you stop growing. Repeat this affirmation daily until it sinks into conviction. I walk my own path. I celebrate others without envy. My progress is measured by inner growth, not outer comparison. Speak it until you believe it. The mind must hear itself before it can obey itself. I recall a story of an inventor who spent years copying others' designs. He improved nothing and despised himself. One night, in frustration, he tore up the copies and returned to his first forgotten idea. That single act of independence revolutionized his field. He had been a follower until he remembered his origin. When you cease comparing, the noise of the world fades, and the sound of your own purpose grows clear. You no longer need to prove, you only need to perform. You stop watching others' harvests and start tending your own field. In time, your fruit will be unmistakable. Others will see you differently. You will appear content but ambitious, calm but determined. They will find you impossible to manipulate through status or praise. You will be admired quietly because peace of mind is magnetic. It signals mastery. The man who needs no validation becomes the man everyone trusts. The peace that comes from self-trust is unlike any applause. It steadies the heart and lengthens the years. It restores joy in labor, patience in delay, and dignity in solitude. You no longer hurry because you are no longer lost. When the final day comes, you will not ask, "Did I surpass others?" You will ask, "Did I fulfill my design?" And if the answer is yes, you will depart in peace. Thing 5, the pursuit of control over others. The craving to dominate others hides weakness within. It is a disguise worn by those who have not yet conquered themselves. I have seen men who mistake fear for leadership and noise for authority. They command through threat because they cannot command through example. Their victories are shallow, their influence temporary. I call this the law of mastery. Control begins inwardly and multiplies outwardly. A man cannot give direction to others until he has established direction within. Every tone of anger, every demand for obedience, every effort to force allegiance is confession of internal disorder. The man who must shout to be heard has already lost respect. Once, in a large enterprise I studied, two managers led side by side. One ruled by fear, watching his subordinates like a jailer. The other led through quiet example. The fearful manager saw every mistake as rebellion and every question as challenge. His men obeyed outwardly but despised him in silence. The calm leader trusted his team, corrected gently, and shared credit freely. His section prospered. The other decayed. Authority without respect collapses under pressure. Men often mistake the thrill of command for strength, yet nothing weakens the soul like the addiction to control. It drains patience, breeds suspicion, and destroys cooperation. The truly strong man governs through understanding. He knows that influence, not intimidation, builds loyalty that endures. Andrew Carnegie understood this. He gathered brilliant men around him and let them think freely. His greatness was not that he knew everything, but that he listened. He once said he would rather earn 1% of 100 men's effort than 100% of his own. He recognized that power shared multiplies. Power hoarded disintegrates. I once spoke to a foreman who had lost his position because he ruled through anger. "They never respected me," he said. I answered, "They could not respect you because you never respected yourself enough to remain calm." Temper is the enemy of authority. It shouts your weakness louder than any insult could. Self-control is silent command. Patience is invisible power. The man who listens commands more than the man who shouts. Words released in temper scatter. Words released in calm precision strike like arrows. A calm presence bends others more surely than force. Anger may win submission, but only composure wins cooperation. The former lasts an hour, the latter a lifetime. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. I rule no man, I rule myself. My calmness governs, my example instructs, my service inspires. When you master your temper, you radiate confidence. Others sense it and adjust their tone accordingly. They find it impossible to provoke you, for your stillness is unbreakable. Those who once opposed you will seek your counsel. They will follow you not from fear, but from faith in your steadiness. Coercion breeds resistance. Cooperation multiplies strength. When you stop trying to control others, you discover influence. When you serve, you rise. Those who crave dominance never lead for long. Those who serve with dignity never cease to lead. The hand that helps always rises higher. Wise invest their minutes as the foolish hoard gold. The calendar of purpose is written in now. There is no later in the vocabulary of greatness. I once met a businessman who dreamed of rest. He worked feverishly, postponing joy for retirement. He promised his family that leisure was near. When at last he sold his company, he died a month later. He had prepared everything except to live. The years he thought he was saving had already spent themselves without his permission. To defer happiness is the slowest form of suicide. The man who waits for the perfect moment to begin never begins. Perfection of timing is myth. Perfection of effort is reality. Time is the only possession that cannot be regained once spent. A man may recover money, health, or reputation, but never yesterday. Edison lived by immediacy. When an idea came, he acted. He understood that inspiration expires if not converted to motion. Speed of decision protected him from regret. His laboratory was his temple. His hours were sacred offerings. He treated each dawn as divine opportunity, and so life gave him more to work with. You must learn to shift from postponement to presence Ask yourself daily, if this were my final day, what would deserve my attention? Do not seek to escape duty, but fulfill it fully. Completion gives rest. Avoiding it gives anxiety. The mind that finishes what it begins never fears time. Focus immortalizes time. A single hour of clear purpose holds more eternity than a decade of distraction. Men speak of wanting long life. What they need is deep life. Depth is created by intensity of purpose, not by length of years. One day of decisive action outweighs 1,000 of hesitation. Many men discover at death what I tell you now, that life was always waiting for permission to begin. The dying often whisper regrets, not of what they failed to earn, but of what they postponed. They say, I wish I had seen more, loved more, forgiven sooner. You can avoid that by deciding today to act as though eternity depends upon this hour. Repeat this daily, not as comfort, but as command. I live this hour as though eternity depends upon it. I act now, I give now, I become now. Say it until delay feels unnatural. Each repetition disciplines the subconscious to move with faith instead of fear. The man who obeys this law appears serene. He no longer rushes, for he has already decided. He is unhurried yet urgent, content yet productive. Others will sense courage in his calmness, for he lives ready. His peace comes from having nothing deferred, nothing feared. Every act performed with total attention becomes eternal. When your family speaks to you, listen as though it were your last chance to hear them. When you work, work as though it were your masterpiece. When you rest, rest with gratitude. This is the secret of living readiness. And when the final hour arrives, you will not bargain for more time. You will look back and see that you lived completely in the time you were given. Death will find you prepared, not because you plan to die, but because you learn to live without postponement. Others will speak of you as calm, courageous, fulfilled. They will say, he was always ready. And that readiness will be your legacy. For he who learns to live in urgency discovers immortality in every moment. That is the last illusion broken, the final truth revealed. Life is not measured by its length, but by its completeness. Each day lived with definite purpose saves 10 years of wandering. Every decisive act reclaims lost decades, and thus you will have saved not merely time, but life itself. Epilogue. The final measure of a man. When the last hour draws near, all illusions fade. The applause grows silent, the possessions lose meaning, and the ambitions that once ruled your mind shrink into whispers. You will not ask how loud the crowd cheered, nor how soft your bed felt, nor how heavy your purse became. You will ask only one question: did I live by purpose, or did I drift? Life in its final accounting is not measured by gain, but by growth. It asks whether you conquered yourself, whether you served with integrity, whether you acted each day as though time were sacred. The man who learns these truths early saves decades of waste. The man who learns them late redeems eternity through understanding. You will remember not the years of comfort, but the hours of courage. You will bless the struggles that shaped your strength and pity the ease that made you weak. You will see that mastery was never in controlling others, but in commanding yourself. And as the breath slows, the noise of the world will fall away until only one sound remains, the steady voice of your own conscience saying, I lived true. So live now with that end already settled. Do not chase the 6 illusions that steal a life while promising it meaning. Seek peace of mind, born of definite purpose, faith in your vision, and service that uplifts others. Repeat your decision daily until it becomes identity. Let calmness replace applause, discipline replace comfort, simplicity replace greed, individuality replace envy, mastery replace domination, and presence replace delay. Then, when the final dawn comes, you will meet it without fear. For a man who has ruled his thoughts, directed his purpose, and served with faith does not die. He completes his work. The body rests, the spirit continues, and eternity itself will bear witness that he lived as a master of life, not a servant of illusion.